Hello everybody and welcome to Parks Bros. It is Drew here, and on Saturday, September 8th, we went to Six Flags Magic Mountain for Ace Day and had a Q&A session about West Coast Racers. So these are all the questions that we had answered about West Coast Racers. I did not end up filming the Q&A, but I ended up taking notes about it, and I wanted to talk about it a little later, but all these questions that we had answered and all the answers I'm going to go over are from the public Q&A session with Ace. So all the things that were answered are pretty much public knowledge. So let's start it off with, will the ride have comfort collars like shown in the animation? And the answer is yes. They are confirmed. And we heard a couple different reasons for this from different people in the management. And some said it was Premier's decision or something along those lines, where with the way the train moves, with some of the lateral forces that were being put on the train and the track, that it was more comfortable to have the comfort collars. And then another was just because of capacity reasons, because it would be faster, and also you don't have to deal with a seatbelt underneath the lap bar, which was confusing a lot of people apparently with Full Throttle, at least that they've seen. And I know a lot of people aren't too happy about them, but I don't know how they are because I haven't ridden Electric Eel yet. Hopefully I will know what they're like in the next coming months. But I know this was a big issue for a lot of the people that were there, and also a lot of people online as well. The next question we had answered is, when is the possible opening date? Now, they haven't figured out an exact opening date, but they're hoping summer, and they're kind of guessing summer as well. So my guess would probably be about June, maybe even May at the earliest, but that's my personal guess, but all they said was suspect around summer. The next question that was asked was, is it going to always duel or race? And the answer is that it's actually programmed to race every single time. So no matter what, you will be dueling the next train, unless there's a breakdown, in which case you will probably be picked up off the pit stop, is my guess. But we really don't know how that's going to work. But you will race every single time. And another question that was asked is, how is this possible? Like, how is it going to race every time? And the answer is, you can even see it in the animation, there is a launch position that both trains go to before they are actually given the okay to start and get the launch mechanism working. So they will actually both go to the launch position and then start to duel afterwards. Now, a big question I had, and I know a lot of people have had, is what is in the pit stop? And it is a show experience that is supposedly going to be the West Coast Customs teams possibly doing some stuff to your vehicles on the side of the trains. So it should be immersive, at least that's what we've been told. So I'm very excited to see what they end up doing with it, whether it ends up being like a Pepper's Ghost effect or just large 3D-like screens or something along those lines. I'm really excited to see what they do with that. Now, another thing that was asked is how long the duration is going to be, and they're not entirely sure yet, and they won't really know until, perfectly until, of course, the train actually goes around the track and everything's completed. But they are guessing around the 3-minute mark, including the pit stop experience. So that's actually a pretty lengthy coaster in all honesty. I mean, a lot of coasters are usually about a minute to a minute and a half, and those are considered, kind of lengthy at times. So that makes me really excited, the fact that it's going to be longer in duration. Another thing that was asked about restraints is if there's going to be shin guards like there are on other Premier rides like Full Throttle and the Spaghetti Bowl models. And the answer behind that is yes, at least as far as they know. The trains are actually a brand new design by Premier, at least the outer design is itself, so they don't know everything about the trains yet, but they do know that there is going to be shin guards, just like Full Throttle and just like the Spaghetti Bowl models. So expect a little tighter fit when you're trying to get in and out, but a snug and comfy ride, at least for most people, when you sit down in your seat. The next question asked was about how they are going to get the load quicker than most rides. And supposedly they're actually going to start a new thing with what they would call luggage. And that is pretty much what people bring to park, like backpacks, water bottles, hats, all these things. And supposedly you are going to have a place to put them, like all your belongings, before you even get into the station. And then once you get to the ride, apparently there's going to be a small little pouch, at least that's what they were talking about, to put maybe like very personal items like your cell phone. So you can put your cell phone in a little pouch. My guess is kind of like Revenge of the Mummy. The way they have little pouches for cell phones and small things attached to the restraints, which are always really nice, in addition to the lockers that are used for Mummy. But then you'll go through the ride, get off, and then you will actually be able to get your items after you get out of the station again, after you leave. And another thing to add on to this, they also said this, the entrance and exit is actually going to be on the same side of the station because they can't go across the other way because of the pit stop, first of all. And second of all, hopefully it will make people more urgent to try and get on and get off as quick as possible due to the fact that you have somebody coming into your seat and you have to get out of their way as quick as possible as well. Now, one thing more about West Coast Racers itself that we learned is that they are actually not going to have 4 trains with one out in maintenance while the other 3 trains are running. They are actually only going to have 3 full trains, and they are going to have one specific car that they will be having in maintenance every maintenance cycle. So my guess is with this, the outer parts are going to be able to be taken off, like the actual show pieces on the outside of the trains, like the actual car head, like hood and trunk and all the side panels will be able to be taken off, and they will take one specific car, take it off the rotation, put it in maintenance, and then put all the show pieces back onto the other car that has replaced the car that has just gone into maintenance. If that makes any sense at all, I know I'm not wording it in the best way, but I think this is a wonderful idea, especially with the trains only having 2 cars each, and it doesn't take out a train in rotation, so you will always have 3 trains going throughout the track, so you will still have a duel every single time, which is amazing. Now, some questions were also asked about the area and other things about the park during this Q&A, and one thing we heard about Apocalypse is that they're actually not going to do a retheme, and they're not going to do a renaming of the ride. At least as far as we know. They said they weren't going to do anything because it fits into the area from what they said. So that actually makes it really interesting to me what the area is actually going to look like. I know we know a little bit of what it's going to look like, but how Apocalypse is also going to fit in with West Coast Racers. And that kind of leads into the next question that was asked, but this was actually overheard, not in the actual presentation itself, but we did overhear someone ask, what is this new area going to be called? And we heard that it was going to be called the Underground. And I prefer that name to Adrenaline Alley, honestly. It sounds a little more intimidating, but more friendly, I think, because Adrenaline Alley just, I don't know, there's something about the word alley nowadays that is not the best to hear, especially for maybe a more friendly park, I guess. And then putting adrenaline with the word alley just doesn't help what you think of. But the Underground honestly sounds pretty nice, and I think it'll actually make Apocalypse fit in a little more, because the Underground could be more grungy and more apocalyptic-like. So it makes me interested to see what they're really going to do with the area. They did say that it was going to be more LA-centric, along with, you know, West Coast Racers being involved, or West Coast Customs being involved, my bad. But I am very excited for that. Now, one more thing that is, actually, it's not to do with the area at all, but the Troll is back at the exit sign of the bumper cars, now called Jammin' Bumpers. It used to be called Sandblasters, but the Troll is back in the queue, or actually near the ride. I didn't actually get to see it, but they said that they have it back, so I'm very excited to see a little piece of park history back in the park. Oh, and how could I forget the last thing I gotta talk about? Someone asked about Green Lantern First Flight. Is it ever reopening? Yes, it is reopening. Not within this year, we don't think, but it will be opening. My guess is sometime in 2019. They did not actually release an opening date. They said they knew an opening date, but they have not released it yet. It will for sure be open by 2020 is my guess. But it was kind of funny. Someone asked that question and then they answered yes, and half the Acers immediately groaned. It was pretty funny to watch, but I'm sure by 2020 it will be open. And I know a lot of people actually seem to like it, so, but it just adds another coaster to the park, and I'm sure there will be a lot of people that are happy, and I mean, there's of course going to be people that are not going to be happy about it, but Green Lantern is for sure opening, and they also said that it's opening with kind of a new twist, or something different that has not been there before, so I wonder what that's going to be besides like trim brakes, because we know the trim brakes have already been added in a lot of spaces. So that is what we have learned about West Coast Racers and the surrounding area that is supposedly going to be called the Underground, which I'm very excited about. But let me know what you think about these things. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of unhappy about Green Lantern, but hey, another coaster is another coaster. So, and also with it having something new, maybe some of us will do some re-rides. I'm tempted to actually, to see if it's changed enough where maybe I'm not coming off limping. But heck, I've had some really, really rough rides on X2 and I still go back every couple months at least. So you never know. But let me know what you think. I know there's some disappointing stuff to some people on this, but I know there's a lot of interesting things to think about as well. So I'm very excited to see what next year brings. Honestly, going to the park on Saturday and finding out all of these things and even more was just really amazing. And 2019 is honestly going to be one of my favorite years for Magic Mountain that I can remember, at least in the past decade or so. But thank you for watching. Make sure to like if you liked, dislike if you disliked, subscribe if you haven't, because we're going to have tons of stuff about West Coast Racers. Believe me, oh my goodness, it's going to be insane. And of course, we'll see you on the next ride.